Hello, Chatterhouse. How are you, so? I was sitting there. I was sitting there and I hadn't realised I hadn't turned myself off. And there's me sitting along around with there. Just to let you know, folks, there is, by the looks of it, a 40-second delay tonight on Facebook. Just to let you know, anybody who's going to come in maybe on YouTube, there is a 40-second delay. So it's I don't know why it's running slow tonight. So just to let you know, I'm sitting here looking around. It's Crac, isn't it? Okay, so welcome to the Chatterhouse, folks. It's Tuesday night again. I just don't know where the time is going. I don't know. Everything seems to be just going so quickly. It really, really is. It's been a very, very busy week for me. There's been a lot going on. Auntie Lillian's been keeping me busy. I also launched a new TikTok account as well for my readings as well. So I've been doing all that. Then there's more stuff going on as well, but I'll tell you all about it later. But anyway, let's go to the Chatterhouse and see who's in. YouTube's quiet at the minute. There is a couple of people watching. They're maybe watching on their TVs, maybe in the Chatterhouse. If you're on YouTube, please feel free to say hello because the comments are on. So let's see who's there and see who's in. Right, let's go back to the very beginning. Okay, those will not take long. Oh, they're all starting to fly in now. Right, let's go back. First through the door tonight was our Tracy. Our Tracy Wee Wee's straight through the door, and she is going, hey, hey, hey. Hi, Tracy, there. I know Tracy's going to be saying the next she's going to say, oh, this is all before my time. But you know something? You'll learn something, so you will. Michelle McGrogan's through the door as well. Miss Chatterhouse yourself. Good evening, everyone, and welcome along. Maria McGivern is in. Nice to see our Maria. Don't forget, folks, you must comment for me to say hello. The rules of the Chatterhouse is if you don't comment, you're welcome to sit in the background and listen. The next one to comment is our Jackie. And if one day I should become a singer with the Spanish bum who sings for women, oh, great for sure, Jackie's in there. Through the door. A whole lot of people there. And Maria Tate. There's more comments here, Stuart. You haven't finished yet. Our Matthew McGinley's in. Nice to see our Matt. Johnny Cahoon says, not watching you on my TV. It would crack. Break off, you. Just why you're my nephew, you get away with murder. And Catherine Playfair is in. Well, that's it so far. Not bad wee crowd so far. But it's the people who are in who matter. Okay, folks, just to let you know, we are going to be back. And David Thompson's just come in as well. Before we start tonight, I just want to remind everybody, the Chatterhouse is actually back on Friday night again. We're back on Friday night again at a later time at 9 p.m. And back by popular demand is Stuart and Carrie's After Dark. Now, if anybody has never ever seen these before, this is nights that we used to do a long time ago, and they were very, very popular. And basically, the reason why they're after 9 is because they're about topics and things that you can't really discuss before 9 because they can be a bit risky, you know. We've covered Jack the Ripper, we've covered Harold Shipman, but this time we're actually covering a bit of history and we're looking at the rise, the fall, and the death of Anne Boleyn, and nothing is left out. And it's a very, very interesting one that will be. Shane Rafferty's in. Nice to see our Shane. You're very, very welcome. This is your first night? I don't think it's your first night, and you're very, very welcome. So that will be this Friday night at 9 p.m. It is a wee bit later, but we have to do it at that time for the content that it has. The event is in the group. If you want to go, please mark yourself down as going in and you'll be alerted when I go live. Johnny Cahoon says Lee will be throwing you out. Lovely. It won't be the first time, dear. He likes these, actually. Maria says I'll not be in for that one. Maria, it's not scary. It's only history. It's only a history of. And over on YouTube, R. Killian's in. I am who I am. You know why I'm saying that? That's his username on TikTok. R. Killian and I can't speak. I can't fucking speak. Stop cursing, sure. R. Killian's through the door as well. Nice to see you, Killian. Shane says, thank you, my first night I'm a virgin. You wish. Right, okay. Just I've hit that again. Right, okay. So tonight we are, stop scratching yourself, Stuart. We are doing a little bit of nostalgia tonight. We're going back in the past. Now, some of you will remember some of this stuff. Some of you won't. But the people who don't, just wait till you see the difference between now and then, life then and life now. Now, what I'm going to do is, we've got 3 videos here for you tonight. Do not panic. They're not very long, so you're not all fall asleep. I will be here with you watching these videos. And the first one, looks at what could you buy with a fiver. David's over on YouTube now. For a fiver in 1975. Not too 1975. Maria says there's not too many of us left, Shane. Yes. So what could you buy for, as my granny used to call the wee balloon, in 1975? Well, let's find out. And as I say, I'll be watching it with you and I'll be commenting as I go along. And you know, I'm just looking at the video at the side of the eye here, and I haven't seen a fiver like this in a long time. So let me get my earphones on. And anybody wonders why I'm doing this, because it cuts down on the echo. So here we go. Now, by the way, folks, anybody who wasn't in the last night, we're in a new studio now. So I'm still trying to get the hang of it. So everything goes up in the air. Don't worry about it. Right. So what I have to do? To talk myself through it. So we'll do that first. Oh, I'm in the window. It's like what do you call it? It's like play school. Right. So what could £5 buy us in 1975? And then after this, we'll be looking at fashion. And that's all I'm going to say at the minute. So we'll get the video up here. So we're about 15 minutes long. It's not that long. So here we go.
In 1975, a £5 note meant something. The average working man brought home around £45 a week, so £5 wasn't spare change. And when your gran pressed one into your hand at Christmas, you felt like the richest kid alive. That fiver could do things in 1975 that you wouldn't believe today. And in this video, I'm going to show you just how far it really went. At 73 pence a gallon, £5 bought you roughly 6.5 gallons of petrol. Put that in a Ford Cortina, doing 30 miles to the gallon, and you're looking at close to 200 miles. A Sunday trip to the coast and back, no problem. And the part that really stings is you didn't lift a finger. An attendant...
Look at that old Cortina. Look at that old Ford Cortina there. Shane says I have an old £1 note. He was born in 1976. I was born in 1971. Shane. Right, so that old Cortina. By the way, I'm here, by the way. Just to let you know. Right, here we go.
An attendant walked out, filled the tank, checked your oil, and wiped the windscreen while you sat in the driver's seat like royalty. A fiver barely gets you 4 litres now, and you're standing in the rain pumping it yourself. That same fiver could walk you into Woolworths and out with 2 brand new albums from the charts. An LP cost around £2.50. In 1975, that meant you could pick up Pink Floyd's Wish You Were Here and Queen's A Night at the Opera and still have coins left over. Both came out that year. You'd stand at those racks flicking through the sleeves, pulling one out to study the artwork. And
all I'm going to say is bring back Woolies. I miss Woolworths. You could get everything in there, and even better, the Pick a Mix was there. Bring back Woolies.
And walking home with 2 records under your arm felt like you'd won something. Those same albums on vinyl now cost £35 or more. Before McDonald's had really turned up, Wimpy was the place you went when you were eating out. Nearly 400 branches across Britain, all with table service and proper metal cutlery. You sat down and someone brought your food on a plate. A fiver easily covered two of you for a proper meal.
Right, okay. Now, just in case anybody doesn't know, as you know, most of you, is everybody from Northern Ireland tonight? They are. Wimpy didn't come to us. Wimpy didn't come to us until later days. And when they came, I enjoyed them, but they didn't stay very long. AJ Walker Music's just came in there, and Dave says yes, definitely. Hey, look at that meal sitting on that table. Look at that meal sitting on that table. You could have got all that for a fiver. You could have got all that for a fiver. You wouldn't get it now, I got to tell you.
2 Wimpy International plates, a brown derby each for pudding, maybe a couple of Whippy milkshakes, and you'd spend around £2.50. People...
Sorry, I'm going to have to pause this for a minute. I'm going to have to log in here for a minute. Hold on. What's a brown derby? Does anybody know what a brown... I know it obviously looks as if it's a dessert. What's a brown derby? Does anybody know? Just going to read some comments out here because this is what it's all about. Shane says, I miss those days. Maria says, my dad drove a Ford Corsair in 1975. Tracy says, you wouldn't get all that these days. Shane says, you don't get that now in a garage. No, you don't. Shane says, I love Woolworths. Used to make some sweets. Maria says, Victor's and Castle Street. Jackie says, Wimpy by River Island. That's right, Jackie. And Matt McGinley says, Wimpy. That's right, Matt. That's right. So does anybody know what a brown derby is? Does anybody know what a brown derby is? Because I have an notion. If you do, put it in the comments. Tracy says, be lucky to get 2 milkshakes for a fiver these days. Desperate. I love McDonald's milkshakes, but I haven't had one in a long time because I wouldn't give them the money.
People had birthday parties at Wimpy. First dates happened at Wimpy. You got dressed up to go, and the change from your fiver still covered the bus ride home. If football was more your thing, a fiver stretched even further. Terrace admission was around 70 pence each. A matchday programme cost 10 pence, and a pie with a cup of Bovril came to about...
So 70p into the football.
25 pence a head. Add bus fare there and back, and £5 covered 2 lads for an entire Saturday afternoon at the ground. You'd stand packed in on the terraces with scarves tied to the barriers, feet going numb, waiting for that roar when the ball hit the net. And you'd still have enough left for...
Right, I have paused this at a very crucial stage here. Killian says grapefruit cake. What? Is that a brown derby? Grapefruit cake? What? Catherine says, I love the Wimpy. Carrie says, hello, sorry, I'm late. Dinner was late. That's all right, Carrie. Now, I have paused this at a very crucial stage here. So it's grapefruit on sponge cake or dark chocolate brownie. Okay, so now you know what a brown derby is. Right. Look at this menu. Look at this menu. Half-time prices, right? Pies, 15p. Bovril, 10 pence. Tea, 8 pence. And crisps, 10 pence. Catherine says a warm donut, soft ice cream, and chocolate sauce. Carrie says, we'll go right at that one. So with that menu there, pie for 15 noops. Packet of crisps for 10p. Cup of tea for 8. The cup of Bovril. No thank you. Don't want Bovril. Don't like Bovril. Okay.
On the walk home. A Premier League ticket now starts at 30 to 40 quid, and the pie alone costs more than the whole 1975 match day. Now, if you were a kid in 1975...
Who had one of these? Who had one of these? Scale-electrics. Killian says my granny used to make them every other month. It was a treat. If we were good, it was an old-fashioned but cheap to make. I never heard of it, Killian. Just Killian, you're the phantom of all knowledge, dear. I've never heard of that. Never heard of it. But I've heard of this. Scale electrics. Love it. Look at that carpet. Look at that carpet. And even better, look at the Christmas tree. If you can see the Christmas tree there, the Christmas tree. Desperate. Stop laughing, Stuart.
The thing you wanted more than anything was probably a scale extric. The starter sets cost around £5, which meant one fiver, and you had the best present in the country sitting under the Christmas tree. You'd set it up on the living room floor, race those little cars round the track until they flew off at every bend, and argue with your brother about who got which controller. If you didn't have one, you knew someone who did, and you were round there every chance you got. For boys, there was
Okay, so here he is. Right, I've got to see some comments to read out here before I talk about this. Matt McGovney said I had one that was the scale electric. Shane says look at the compared now it's 90p for crisps. Catherine Playford says the Wimpy Brown Derby is a classic dessert. Oh right, featuring a warm donut topped with a soft ice cream, chocolate sauce, and chopped nuts. Sometimes Oreo pieces in modern versions. A staple 1970s dining. It remains must be a favourite. She Roberts said I had one scale electrics. Maria McGivern says I got a pot of hot water and a tea bag by two in Europa last Wednesday, and it cost £12.70. No tea for 8p on there. And she says, oh my God, my mum got me one. Right. Hold on, all these comments are flying here. I knew this would get you talking. Action Man's just appeared and our AJ said, I have one under my bed. Michael says you needed room to set it up. The scale electrics for it was as big as you. Hold on, I'll read that again. You needed room to set it up if it was big, as you couldn't take it apart and set it up again in a hurry. I know, Michael. And then there was a whole row every time you wanted to set it up, how they want to watch TV. So I had an Action Man. I had an Action Man. And the one I had the eagle eyes. The eagle eyes on the back. Does anyone remember those? Me with an Action Man. I think's change.
Man. The basic soldier figure cost about £2.50, and the equipment packs came in at about £1 each. A fiver got you the figure and 2 full outfit sets. Maybe the deep-sea diver gear with the rubber suit and the helmet, or the commando set with the beret and the rifle. You could move his eagle eyes with the lever on the back of his head, and he had that scar across his cheek.
Sorry, folks. Hold on.
Scar across his cheek that made him
I can't pause it. Sorry, folks, we're having technical difficulties with that video. Don't panic. I will get it back. Hold on a minute. We are having panics. We're having problems with it here. So just bear with me for 2 seconds. Now, hold on.
In 1975, a £5 note meant something. The average working man brought home around £45 a week, so £5.
Sorry, folks, we're having technicals with this video, and it's a shame because we were enjoying it too. I don't know what is wrong with this. Hold on 2 seconds. Just bear with me for a minute, folks. Just bear with me. I would never give up.
In 1975, a £5 note meant something. The average
Just go back to where we were. Right. Sorry about that, folks, but we're having a technical problem there. Sorry about that. Hold on.
And
Right.
2 full outfit sets. Maybe the deep-sea diver gear with the rubber suit and the helmet, or the commando set with the beret and the rifle. You could move his eagle eyes with the lever on the back of his head, and he had that scar across his cheek that made him look like he'd actually been somewhere. Unwrapping one on Christmas morning was something every boy understood. And for girls, the same fiver bought a Cindy doll and a couple of outfit changes. The basic Cindy was about £2.50, and the little individually carded outfits on the rack at Woolworths cost around 75 pence each. You'd stand in that aisle choosing between them for what felt like hours. Shopping in the rain with the little plastic Mac. Weekender with the tiny flared jeans. Every
Right, folks, can I just ask something? Now, we had this debate one night before. Once again, I do apologise that video frigged up there, right? What was that? My cousin had an Action Man and I had Barbies in the 90s. So we used to make them get married and live in a Barbie fold-out house. Now, could somebody please confirm for me, right? Which one was which? Was Barbie the British one, the British one, or was Cindy the British one, the American one? Does anybody know which one was which? Was Cindy American? No, I think was Cindy British and Barbie American. Can anybody remember? Because we had this debate before, and I can't remember. I can't remember which was which. I really can't remember, but I'll play it on until I get the answer, and then I'll pause.
It hung on its own miniature cardboard hanger behind clear packaging. Ask anyone who grew up with Cindy, and they'll still remember exactly which ones they picked. The skateboard craze had arrived from California by the mid-70s, and boards were showing up in toy shops across Britain by 1975. A basic one cost about £3.
Okay, so Barbie is the American one, and Cindy was the British. And Cindy's is the British, Maria said as well. Thank you. Now here we are, we're on the skateboards. Look at that, £3.50. Lovely. Maria says Barbie had bigger boobs. That's desperate.
50, which left enough change for a set of knee pads that nobody actually bothered wearing. The wheels were clay, the deck was solid wood, and the whole thing weighed about as much as a small dog. You'd push off down the pavement, hit the first crack in the concrete, and end up picking gravel out of your elbows within about 30 seconds.
That's
Saturday
right.
night at home needed even less than a fiver. A Watney's Party 7 cost £1.35.
Sorry, folks, going to have to do this again. Hold on. What's a Watney's Party 7 better? Well, sure, if you have a bit of patience, you're going to find out. You couldn't put Barbie's outfits on Cindy and vice versa. Lovely. I didn't want you to. They wanted to spend more money. So this must be an English thing. A Watney's Party 7 better. So let's see what this is.
And that giant tin held 7 pints of bitter. A bottle of decent red wine was about £1.25. 20 Embassy filter came to 42 pence. Throw in a few bags of Golden Wonder crisps at...
I'm not on TikTok, so I can say what I want. 42p for a packet of fags? What? 42p for a packet of ciggies? I won't be sitting here. I'd be embarrassed. God forgive me. God forgive me, Stuart. That's desperate. 42p for a packet of ciggies? What?
8 pence each, and the whole evening was sorted. You'd watch Dad fighting the tin opener onto the top of the Party 7 while beer sprayed across the kitchen lino. Mum would settle in with her glass of wine and the telly tuned to Match of the Day. Nobody went out because nobody needed to. If you wanted a trip out, Jaws was in British cinemas in the summer of 1975, and it was the film everyone was talking about. An adult ticket was about 55 pence, with children cheaper, so a family of 4 could get in for around £2. Add
Okay, I'm just going to stop that for 2 minutes. Anybody with young children in the group tonight? Could you please tell me how much it would be to get a family of 4 into... I know, Killian, I have the wrong generation. Could somebody please tell me how much it would be for a family of 4 into the cinema now? Because they are saying it's £2. And look at the price. Look at the price of the trolley. An ice cream for 15p. Just one cornetto for 20 pence. What's that other one there? And some other one for 20 pence. Is that Turkish Delight? Oh, you can see it better than me. Oh, it's over here. It's Turkish Delight. 20 pence, Matt McGinley. Matt McGinley, when you be going to Weight Watchers, dear, if they were that price, that's desperate. 20p for Turkish Delight. Right, anybody tell me how much a family of 4 going into the cinema would be these days before I carry on? Carrie says the last time we went to the cinema, it was about a tenner a ticket. And there's Killian's just said the exact same thing. About 40 quid, and then the popcorn and drinks. Oh my God. I love it. That's great. Right, let's carry on.
ice creams from the usher's tray and bus fare home, and you were looking at about £3.50 all in. You'd sit in the dark, waiting for the curtains to pull apart, and by the time the shark showed up, half the audience was screaming, and the other half was pretending they weren't. The whole family outing for well under a £5. And here's one that sounds impossible now. The 1975 FA Cup final was West Ham against Fulham at Wembley, played on Saturday the 3rd of May. Standing terrace tickets cost about £1.50. A £5 bought 2 people into the FA Cup final at Wembley, possibly 3.
And I would say, folks, if you had one of those tickets today, the ticket would probably cost, somebody would be collecting those, and that would be worth a fortune. Carrie says it also costs the best part of £20 for 2 kids, nibbles, popcorns, jellies, fruit shoots, drinks, etc. Shane says you used to be able to smoke in the cinemas. My eyes hurt. Why remember having a wee bag in the cinema? And the cigarette. Look against that on the next Stuart. That's desperate.
Bobby Moore, who lifted the World Cup for England in 1966, was playing for Fulham that day against the club where he'd become a legend. West Ham won 2-0 in front of 100,000 people. The cheapest seat at a Wembley Cup final now starts around 45 quid. A night out on the town didn't need much either. 4 pints of bitter at 28 pence each came to £1.12. A portion of fish and chips on the way home was 35 pence. A taxi back...
Did you hear that, folks? Sorry to keep pausing, but I just want you to make sure you hear it all. 35 pence for a fish supper. 35 scoops. Desperate.
For a couple of quid. The whole evening came in under £4, and you still had change from a £5. You'd spend the evening leaning on the bar with the jukebox going in the corner, then grab your chips on the way home. The taxi alone would cost more than all of that now. A £5 didn't just buy nights out, though. It sorted Christmas. A bottle of Harvey's Bristol...
Now, do you see that there now? Do you see that? That's what I call a tin of roses. That's what I call a tin of roses. Not this shit that they give you these days, these wee plastic things. That is a proper tin of roses. And a proper tin. And there's your Harvey's Bristol cream. My granny used to buy that. Killian says fish and chips now is roughly £10 or more. Killian, down in the Golden Cod, it's £12.50 for a fish supper, dear. Carrie says 28p for a pint, even £7 for a pint now. Well, I tell you, someone takes us all to be living in this day. I think we're all booking in the clinic. And Killian says, look at the size of that tin. Killian, that's when they used to be tins. That's what it says. Yes, Carrie, it does. £1.75. £1.75 for that tin of roses. Well observed. You can actually see it better on Facebook. You can see it on my screen. £1.75, would sell my granny for roses 175. Right, let's carry on. We've got a few minutes. There's still more to go, so let's go.
Cream sherry cost £1.69. A proper tin of Cadbury roses, the big one with the lid you had to prise off, was about £1.75. Under £4, and Nan's entire Christmas was wrapped up. The sherry glasses would come out of the cabinet on the big day. Someone would start an argument about who got the strawberry cream, and that tin would spend the next decade sitting in her kitchen holding biscuits long after the chocolates were gone. If Dad was the one you were buying for, a bottle of scotch did the job. Bell's, Teachers or Haig cost about £3.50. A fiver bought the bottle and left a change for a bottle of lemonade or ginger ale to mix with it. The drinks cabinet in 1975 was a proper piece of furniture with glass doors,
I have to pause this. There's our Michelle McGrogan's favourite there. About the advocate. Oh, our Michelle McGrogan loves that. She loves advocate, so she does. Kelly says, look at the calendar. It was on the wall as well. Our Michelle McGrogan loves a bottle of Warnix. And look at that Bell's whiskey there. Look at that Bell's whiskey in a proper bell. Isn't that fabulous? Isn't that absolutely fabulous? And the proper bell, isn't that lovely? Michelle McGrogan. Shane says chocolate in general has got smaller and smaller. Carrie says that's a lie. It's never held biscuits. It held the sewing kit. And Shane says those roses tins were that good. Grand recycled and used them as sewing kits. Michelle McGrogan says, I knew you would mention it. Oh, she loves, I have to tell you that story sometime. Anybody hasn't heard it. Well, Michelle loves that for cat. Right, here we go.
Little light that came on when you opened it, and a mirror at the back that made 3 bottles look like 6. You didn't touch it unless there were visitors, or unless it was Christmas, or unless Dad decided it was that kind of evening. A British Rail day return to the nearest city cost about £1.50, which left £3.50 from your fiver for the rest of the day. A cup of tea and a sandwich at a cafe. A browse round the shops, maybe a film in the afternoon if the timing worked.
I'm going to go back a wee bit there because there's a wee menu there. There's another menu there. A cup of tea, 12p. A cheese sarnie, 25p. And a sausage roll, 15p. Isn't that unbelievable? Hey, fellas, love. Nice to see you. Maria says, look at the streamers. I remember making them and pinning them to sing. Maria, I used to make the paper chains. We used to make them in school. Mm-hmm. Auntie, I'm not reading that out. I'll just put it up. I'm not reading it out. Right, this is great.
A browse round the shops, maybe a film in the afternoon if the timing worked. You'd hand over your stiff orange ticket at the barrier, find a seat in the carriage, and buy a cup of tea from the buffet car in a paper cup that was never quite hot enough. But it was your day out, your adventure, and a fiver covered the whole thing. School dinners cost about 15p per meal per child in 1975, which meant £5 covered roughly 30 dinners. That's over 3 weeks' worth for 2 children, or over 6 weeks for one. Mum handing over the dinner money on Monday morning in a little brown envelope was something millions of families did without thinking about it. You'd line up in the hall with your metal tray, slide it along the counter, and eat whatever landed on it. The mash was lumpy, the mince was grey, and the custard always had a skin on it. But it
I have to just say something here. I didn't. We always got our school dinners on a proper plate. Do you see that there? See to me, that's just like prison. That reminds me of prison. Andy Walker says, I wonder was flannel draws a fashion back then. Right. Carrie says, do you remember having a globe that opened for drinks? Yes. My dad had one. Shane's dad got one for my brother. Carrie says, Shane, oh, that's amazing. Carrie says school dinners are £3.10 a day. Now, look at that there. Would you? Isn't that beautiful? Doesn't that look so edible? Doesn't that look so edible? Look at that. Is that supposed to be mince? Is that supposed to be mince and potatoes? I'm not being rude here. It's got big as shit. I wouldn't eat
It was
that.
hot, it was filling, and for a lot of kids, it was the best meal of the day. When September came around and the kids needed kitting out for school, a fiver covered most of the basics. A pair of school shoes from Woolworths or the market cost about £2.50. Grey trousers or a skirt and a couple of white shirts from the co-op came to another pound or two. It wasn't glamorous, but it was enough to send a child back through the gates looking clean and presentable. New shoes that hadn't been broken in yet, mum telling you to keep them polished, and the same routine every family went through at the end of August. A
Cherry
genuine
blossom.
Wrangler or Brutus Gold denim jacket from Foster Brothers or one of the high street chains cost about £4.75 in 1975. That jacket was the uniform of the British teenager that year, worn over a t-shirt with high-waisted flares and a pair of platforms, collar turned up, maybe a badge pinned to the chest. One fiver, and you walked into school on Monday morning looking the part, and everyone noticed before you'd said a word. By 1975, a basic portable transistor radio from Boots or Comet was coming in at around $4.95. It wasn't much to look at, just a plastic box with a dial and a tinny speaker, but it was yours. You took it to the park in the summer, held it to your ear on Saturday afternoons for the football results, and kept it under your pillow at night to listen to Radio Luxembourg after the lights went out. That was your own private line to the outside world, and a fiver covered it. Something else that cost $4.95 by late 1975 was a pocket calculator, which would have been unthinkable just a few years earlier, when the same thing cost £50 or more. A basic model from Boots or Woolworths that handled addition, subtraction, multiplication and division. You pressed the buttons and the answer appeared like magic. Your teacher did not want you bringing it into the classroom, which made you want to bring it even more. The colour TV licence rose to £18 in April 1975, which meant
£18, folks, for a television license. And now it's just ridiculous for a load of crap. £18 for a TV license.
a fiver covered just over 3 months of it. 3 months of television in 1975 included the very first series of Faulty Towers, which started on BBC Two in September that year. It included the Generation Game with Bruce Forsyth on Saturday evenings, Top of the Pops every Thursday, and Morecambe and Wise whenever they were on. The whole family gathered round one set for all of it. Everyone knew someone who didn't have a licence and lived in fear of the detector van coming down the street or the knock on the door from the man with the clipboard. First-class stamps were 7 pence each in 1975, which meant a fiver bought you 71 of them. 71. That was enough to post a Christmas card to every relative, every friend, every neighbour, the milkman, the postman, the teacher, and still have stamps left over. You'd sit at the kitchen table on a December evening writing them all out, licking the backs one after another, then walk them down to the postbox on the corner. A 7-inch single at Woolworths cost about 50 pence, so a fiver bought you 10 brand new records. Bohemian Rhapsody came out in October 1975 and became one of the biggest selling singles of all time. Space Oddity was re-released the same year and went straight to number 1. You could own both of those and still pick out 8 more from the racks for the price of 1 blue note. You'd take them home, drop the needle onto the vinyl, and hear a song you'd been waiting weeks.
Look at that record player. Look at that record player. Killian says £3.10 he paid last week for first class. Must have been a parcel or something, Killian, was it, love? Maria says stamps are now 95p. That's wild, isn't it? hidden behind the sofa from the TV license as our Lillian. The detector branches over the good old days, weren't they? Few more minutes
to
left of
own
this.
fill your bedroom for the first time. The iconic 8-hole Dr. Martens boots retailed at about
Brilliant.
£5 in 1975. One fiver for a
£5.
pair of boots that half the country seemed to wear at one point or another. Skinheads wore them, students wore them, and punks would claim them before the decade was out. They lasted for years because they were built to, and they told the world something.
I didn't wear the boots, now to be quite honest with you, but I wore Dr. Martens shoes in secondary school because, sorry, we've got ghosts in the background. What's that? Sorry, sure, I've got to get. No, sorry, Art! Lucky boy! Shane says what I can't get, what's all changed. Inflation. Um, Shane, just the time, everything's just got so expensive throughout the years. It's just got so expensive. Now, as I say, I never had the DM boots, but I had the DM shoes. They were my school shoes. And the £3.10 that Killian was talking about postage was a large letter. Andy says, "Oh my God, there's." I'm not reading that out. Is that Coco? Believe it or not, Killian, it's not. It's our Lee. Make a noise to say Coco. So there you are, folks. DM boots. So let's carry on.
About who you were and where you came from. The dog licence in Britain was 37.5 pence, and it never changed, not once, from decimalisation in 1971 all the way through until it was scrapped in 1987.
Okay, folks, I just need to tell you about this because over here in Northern Ireland, we still have to pay a dog licence. Over in England, Lee, if you can confirm with me, there's no dog license over there anymore. They do not pay the dog license. Why did they do away with it? Do you know?
Because it was too cheap.
Because it was too cheap?
It cost more to administer it.
Because apparently it costs more for the administration than it did for the license. So they stopped it on the mainland in London and all as well. But over here, we still have the dog license. So there you go. Carrie says, Maria says they're £130 now, DM boots. And Carrie says, my Doc Martens cost me £86 in 2005 and I still have them. Last forever, our Carrie, dear. So we've got 1 minute left of this, and then I'm going to show you a bit of fashion. If everybody doesn't leave.
The price stayed frozen while everything else in the country went up around it. In 1975, a fiver paid the licence, bought a basic lead for 50 pence, picked up 2 tins of chum at 15 pence each, and got a bowl from the market for about 30 pence. That was everything a new dog needed, and you still had well over £3 left in your pocket. If any of these took you back, drop it in the comments and tell us which one hit you hardest. And if you know someone who remembers that blue fiver and what it could do, send this their way. Please subscribe to the channel to keep these stories alive.
Okay, folks, so there you go. So I'll just take that off there. I will put a link to all of the YouTube channels where this came from. I think this is the British, keep it in the British History channel or something it's called, but I will put the link and all in. Their videos are absolutely amazing. They really, really are. They do a lot of work on them. They do a lot of research, you know. So that was a bit of Crac. What was that say? The band men love their teams. That's desperate. Okay, so moving on from items, we're going to go forward in time now. We are going to go forward in time, and we're now going to go to the 80s before we just maybe go back to the 70s again. And what we're going to look at, this is only a 5-minute video. And what we're, this is so funny. I haven't seen it all, but I've only seen a little bit. We're going to look, I'm even laughing at the thought of it, 80s fashion. What do we all wear in the 80s? I'm Michelle McGrogan put a post up there earlier on saying, what do we wear? And we all thought we were lovely. So let's see what we wore in the 80s. Desperate. So here we go. Back to the 80s now.
Hello and welcome. There is a lot that we love about the 80s, but nothing is more iconically 80s than the fashion. The introduction of neon colours into fabric, bold prints to reflect the energy of the decade, and androgynous styles. Let's have a look and see if you agree with my top 10 most iconic 80s fashion items.
Top 10.
Number 10, aerobics dancewear. In the 80s, the aerobics dance phase from the 70's was still going strong. Brightly coloured, skin-tight dance attire was everywhere. Spandex tights, high-cut leotards, and matching headbands and leg warmers completed the outfits that could be seen in fitness centres, at home, and even just walking down the street. Number 9, denim.
Anybody have a bit of lycra? Wasn't it happier? This is 1980s, you auntie. Any you have any lycra? Anybody want to admit? She says, I love my shell suit. I love my shell suit. We're going to get to them. Where was it? Number 9.
Denim was hugely popular in the 80s, particularly stonewash or acid wash, which gave a more aged appearance. If you were going somewhere nice, your jeans might be rolled up at the cuff. Or if you wanted more of a rebel look, then you were ripping holes in the knees and anywhere else that you thought looked cool. Coming in at number 8, the rah-rah skirt. Named after its origin from cheerleading uniforms, most girls had at least one.
Okay, Carrie says 80s fashion was my inspiration when I was 15 in the 2000s. Big back combed hair, fishnets, leg warmers, Doc Martens, and Iron Maiden t-shirts. Okay, so who admits to having a rah-rah skirt? Andy Walker has turned right and said, "Flip, that's Hapalungan's wardrobe coming up." Desperate.
Rah-rah skirt in their collection. Number 7 is the linen jacket. For
I
guys
had one of
and
those.
girls, the linen jacket could dress up any outfit. No
I had one of
problem if
those.
you want to roll up those sleeves or even just hook it over the shoulder with one finger. The linen jacket always added a touch of Miami Vice cool to any outfit. Number 6, ski wear. This
Here we go.
ski wear look was very popular. Lots of bold colours, matching sets, and it would rustle when you
That one?
moved. The material was light for everyday wear, but good to protect you from the wind. My research tells me these were nylon, but I knew it as parachute silk. Not to be confused with the parachute pants of the early 80s, which then get
Look at that. Look at that. That's like an outfit out of Red Dwarf. Does anybody remember Red Dwarf? Jesus Christ, look at that. Look at that. Desperate.
confused with these harem pants or hammer pants, which also became known as parachute pants because of how much room there is. And maybe people didn't know that these were parachute pants, which have no extra room at all.
Excuse me.
Coming in at number 5 of iconic 80s fashion, I have shoulder pads. You can't think of the 80s without picturing shoulder pads. Women were climbing the corporate ladder and they wanted the world to know about it. Shoulder pads told others to get out of their way, and the bigger the better. At number 4, Swatch watches. We loved colour, we loved bold.
Do you know something? I loved Swatch watches, but unfortunately I never got one because they were so, even in those days, as far as I can remember, they were so expensive, but they were really, really nice. I thought they were gorgeous. Some of them were really, really I thought were really nice. I would actually still wear one today if I got away with it, if I got a nice one.
Geometric prints and Swatch watches gave us what we needed in a watch. The advertising suggested it was more of an accessory than a watch, so there was no problem wearing more than one. After all, it's what we did in the 80s. We wore more than one bangle, more than one belt, more than one scrunchie, and more than one pair of socks at a time as well. So why not load up your arm with brightly coloured Swatch watches too? Number 3, the fanny pack or bum bag.
Ah!
The fanny pack or bum bag has to be the coolest way to carry your stuff around, and it's hands-free. In the 80s, these were all the rage. Apparently, they are coming back into fashion, and I 100% support this. It is just so handy to have everything on hand and not have to carry a bag. They are popular with travellers, cyclists, and joggers. Let's bring these back into everyday style and let's make them retro bright and neon colours, just like we remember them. Number 2 on the list, LA Gear high tops. If there was a shoe that defined the 80s, it has to be the high top sneakers. And if you had any sway with your parents, then the brand was LA Gear.
I don't remember
These
those.
shoes were iconic, with their brand proudly shown, and they came with a nifty little license plate keychain we all thought was just so cool. And of course, any colour, style or print you could possibly imagine. Coming in at number 1 of iconic 80s fashion, big hair. Okay, the number 1 iconic fashion of the 80s has to be big hair. The Aquanet got a good workout as we teased out our hair, trying to get as much height and width as possible and make it stay there. The band Poison and many others of the decade made this look available for guys as well as girls. And whether you be a guy or a girl, if the hair was big, the earrings had to be big too. The 80s was a great time for fashion. You could be a rock rebel one day and preppy goodness the next. What was good for the boys was good for the girls. And there was so much fun and colour compared to today. Let me know in the comments what was your favourite fashion item of the 80s. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please give it a like and subscribe to my channel for more videos. Thanks for watching.
So there you go. AJ says Logan had the sandwiches in her fanny pack. That's the bum bag. From the funerals. Desperate. So there you go. So that was a bit of fashion. So it was. So let me catch up with these here. Kai says you used to love cycling these in the circling these in the Argos catalogue. She rapidly had a Swatch watch just well for you. I couldn't afford one. Love reading the Argos catalogue. Carrie says, oh my god, those high tops look like Marty McFly's from Back to the Future. And she says, I had a perm then. Shit, I can just see you with perm. Right. Okay, so our final video tonight, I maybe not play it all, but we'll see how we go. So what we're going to do is, if I could go back for a few days, I would in a heartbeat. Absolutely. Happy times, Shane. So what we're going to do is, I'm going to play about 10 minutes of this and see how we go. We're going to look at now, we're going back to the 70s again, 70s and 80s, and we're going to look at some inventions that were about then but are not about now. Some of inventions that were dangerous. Some of them, you know, just wouldn't see now. So I'll play this and see how it goes. So here we go. Let's bring this up and see what we're going to hear now. Okay.
Britain in the 1970s. A decade of ambition, innovation, and some brilliant disasters. From cars with square steering wheels to watches that exploded on your wrist, it's fair to say British inventors weren't afraid to dream big. For those of us who lived through it, we remember these products not just for what they promised, but for how badly they failed. This is the story of 21 British inventions from the 1970s that failed miserably. May 1973, British Leyland unveiled their replacement for the Austin 1100. They called it the Allegro. The press called it something else, all aggro. From the moment it rolled off the Longbridge production line, the Allegro was doomed. The styling was rounded, puffy, rounded where it should have been sharp. Designers called it modern. Everyone else called it ugly, like someone had sat on a perfectly good car and squashed it. But the real problem was the steering wheel. British Leyland fitted it with something called a quartic steering wheel. Not round, not quite square, somewhere awkwardly in between. They claimed it was revolutionary, gave you more legroom, better view of the instruments. Nobody wanted it. Motoring journalists absolutely hated it. Buyers didn't come near it. Within a year, British Leyland quietly swapped it for a normal round wheel. But the damage was done. The Allegro's reputation was destroyed before most people had even seen one. And it wasn't just the wheel. Jack the car up to change a tyre and the doors would jam shut. The windscreen could pop out from the pressure. Build quality was shocking. Things fell off. Things leaked. Things simply stopped working. January 1976. The world's first supersonic passenger jet entered service. It could fly from London to New York in under 3 hours. Twice the speed of sound. A technical wonder. A financial nightmare. Britain and France signed a treaty in 1962 to share the costs. Initial estimates put development at £150 million. By the time Concorde flew, the bill had reached £1.3 billion. Some economists reckoned it was actually 3 times that much. And then there was the noise. Concorde was deafening. Schools near Heathrow stopped lessons during takeoffs.
It was noisy, folks. I don't know if any of you ever heard it or not, but oh my God, it was noisy.
Churches had to stop on Sunday mornings because nobody could hear the vicar. The sonic boom, when it went supersonic, could crack windows and damage buildings. America banned it from flying over land. So did most of Europe. Concorde burned through fuel. It consumed as much as a Boeing 747, but carried only 100 passengers compared to the 747.
Is that Silver Black sitting there beside her granny on the first row? Is that Silver Black in the red hair? It looks like her, doesn't it? Looks like her.
400. Running costs were massive. Ticket prices had to match. Only the very wealthy could afford it, and there simply weren't enough wealthy passengers to make it work. 20 Concordes were built. Only 14 entered service. By 2003, after just 27 years, the fleet was retired. A beautiful aircraft that nobody wanted and nobody could afford. September 1975. Sir Clive Sinclair launched Britain's first cheap digital watch, the Black Watch. Available ready-built for £24.95 or as a kit for £17.95. About £230 and £160 in today's money. Not exactly cheap. Digital watches were the future. Everyone said so. Sinclair wanted in. The Black Watch looked futuristic. Black plastic case, red LED display, no buttons. You pressed panels on the case to see the time. Looked like something from the future. But it was a disaster from day one. The battery was supposed to last a year. It lasted weeks, sometimes days, and replacing it meant taking the entire watch apart. The display was temperature sensitive. It ran fast in summer, slow in winter. Your watch gained or lost minutes depending on the weather. Static electricity killed them. Walk across a carpet in your nylon shirt and bang. Dead watch. The components were fragile. Drop it and it shattered. Some watches simply fell apart on people's wrists. And the kits. Dear God, the kits. Fiddly soldering of tiny components. Awkward battery installation that needed wooden clothes pegs and drawing pins just to get the batteries in. Most people gave up halfway through. Those who finished found their watches didn't work anyway. Returns came back in their thousands. Sinclair had more watches returned than they'd actually sold. The backlog reached 2 years. 20 staff trying to repair tens of thousands of faulty watches. It nearly bankrupted the company. Only a government bailout saved Sinclair Radionics. Britain in the 1970s wasn't known for its adventurous eating. Most families had meat and 2 veg. Sunday roast, fish on Friday. Curry was exotic, strange. Vesta tried to change that. They created instant curry meals. Just add boiling water. Wait 5 minutes. Dinner's ready.
Okay, sorry to stop this for 2 seconds. Did anybody ever have a Vesta meal? a vest or ready meal because I've had mixed reports about this. Some people say they were nice, some people say they were rotten. Tim from Iceland, by the way, folks, I don't know if you heard me saying. He says what I said about Scylla on the plane. That's a Lara Airways. I've never had a vest or ready meal, but I've heard mixed
The
reactions.
reality was awful. The meat looked like gravel, brown, hard chunks that might have once been chicken or beef. Hard to say, really. The sauce was bright yellow powder that clumped together, always
Ugh.
lumpy, always gritty. And the crispy noodles, deep fried until they were rock hard. They tasted like cardboard that had been through a chip pan, crunchy, greasy, and completely tasteless. Vesta curries didn't taste like curry, they tasted of disappointment. But people bought them because convenience mattered more than taste, and because most Brits in the 70s had never tasted real curry anyway. Every 1970s dinner party needed one. A heated
Oh
cupboard
my
on
God.
wheels. The hostess trolley kept your food warm while you served multiple courses, except it didn't keep food warm. It kept food at the perfect temperature for bacteria to multiply. Not hot enough to stay safe, not cold enough to preserve, just a lovely warm environment where germs could throw their own dinner party. Your roast beef, leather by the time it reached the table. Your vegetables, grey mush. Your gravy,
Ugh.
congealed into a skin so thick you could stand a spoon in it. But owning one meant something. You were middle
posh.
class. You threw
Yep.
dinner parties. Your guests
Yep.
might spend the next day stuck in the bathroom, but you had a hostess trolley, and that's what mattered. The original stylophone was a toy, a little synthesizer you played with a pen, made strange buzzing noises. Rolf Harris advertised it. Kids loved
dear.
it for about 10 minutes. Then Sinclair tried to make a serious version, the Stylophone 350S, larger, more features, photo sensor controls for wah-wah effects. This was going to be a proper electronic instrument. It wasn't. It was a plastic box that screeched. The photo sensor was impossible to control. Wave your hand and it made random wobbling sounds. Not musical, just noise. Painful, ear-splitting noise that sent parents running for the paracetamol. Britain invented the railway. So naturally, by the 1970s, we needed to prove we could still do it better than everyone else. The Advanced Passenger Train, the APT. It was supposed to be Britain's answer to Japan's bullet train. High speed, tilting mechanism, 155 miles per hour on normal tracks. No expensive new railway needed. Brilliant. The tilting mechanism was meant to keep passengers comfortable as the train went round bends at high speed. In reality, it made everyone sick. The first press run in 1981 was a disaster. Journalists stumbled off the train green-faced and dizzy. Some actually vomited. The media had a field day. Headlines mocking Britain's sick-making super train. Cartoons of passengers holding sick bags. The project never recovered. Millions spent. Years of development. All abandoned because nobody could ride the thing without wanting to throw up. Eventually, the technology worked. Other countries took the tilting mechanism and made it successful. But Britain's reputation was ruined. For those who don't know, a tea's maid is an alarm clock with a built-in tea maker. It sits by your bed.
We had one of these. My dad had one of these.
At the set time, it boils water and makes you a cup of tea. Sounds perfect. Everything about it was wrong. The noise was terrifying. A loud hiss of steam followed by bubbling. You didn't wake gently. You woke in panic, thinking the house was on fire. The condensation was terrible. Steaming hot water next to your bed produced clouds of moisture. Wallpaper peeled. Windows dripped. Your bedroom became a sauna. And the tea. Lukewarm at best. Often cold by the time you actually drank it. With a funny metallic taste from the element. Not the refreshing morning brew you'd imagined. But every nan in Britain had one. It sat on the bedside table gathering dust. Used once, never again. An idea that sounded brilliant until you actually tried it. In 1970, someone at Bond Cars looked at a motorcycle and thought, what if we made it worse? The Bond bug. a three-wheeled orange wedge that looked like it escaped from a science fiction film. It had two wheels at the front, one at the back. The entire canopy
I've never seen this before. The Bond bug.
lifted up to get in, like climbing into a fighter jet, except fighter jets are fast and safe. The Bond bug was neither. Top speed was 78 miles per hour. Getting there felt like you were about to die. The thing was so light that strong winds pushed you across the road. Corners were dangerous. Hit one too fast and you'd flip, just topple right over. And the rain, the rain. The canopy leaked. The heater was pathetic. You sat in a cold, damp orange box, wondering why you'd spent good money on this instead of an actual car. Only 2,268 were made. Most buyers realized their mistake quickly. Today, Bond bugs are collector's items. Not because they're good, because they're so wonderfully, hilariously terrible that people find them funny. It's frothy, man. That was Cresta's slogan, said by an animated polar bear who clearly didn't care about children's dental health. Cresta was a fizzy drink, except it wasn't really fizzy, it was more foamy, like someone had taken regular pop and mixed it with air, sweet liquid covered in chemical foam. The flavors were bright.
Now, I have never heard of Cresta or not. Is that a mainland thing? Maybe Tim has. Have you heard of Cresta, Tim? I've never heard of it. They're all talking about instant mash over here, about smash, get smash, and all that. I actually like the new one they have out. What's that new? The modern one, Idaho mash. It's lovely. Other brands of instant mashed potato are also available, by the way. It's lovely. But I've never heard of Cresta. Shane says about the car, I seen something 2 days ago. It looked stupid. Never seen one.
Strawberry that glowed pink, orange that was almost painful to look at. All of them tasted the same, like sugar mixed with more sugar and topped with industrial sweetener. One bottle and your teeth ached for a week. Kids loved it for about 5.
Sorry, just pausing again. Tim's just confirmed. Yes, it was the mainland only had Cresta. Thanks, Tim, because I'd never heard of it.
5 minutes until the sugar rush hit and they bounced around like mad. Parents learned quickly. Never give a child Cresta unless you want chaos. It disappeared in the late 70s. Nobody missed it. Britain's answer to Tang, the American orange juice powder that astronauts drank. Rise and Shine was going to bring space-age drinks to British breakfast tables. Except it never dissolved properly. Ever. No matter how much you stirred, there was always gritty orange stuff at the bottom of your glass. Like drinking orange juice mixed with sand. Pudding in the 1970s was serious business. Sunday lunch needed a proper dessert, but who had time to make trifle from scratch? Bird's Instant Whip. Add milk, whisk, instant mousse. Except it wasn't mousse, it was flavoured foam. Light as air, tasted like chemicals. Had the texture of shaving cream. Sweet but also completely tasteless at the same time. It came in strawberry, chocolate and butterscotch. All of them tasted a bit like artificial vanilla with a hint of whatever colour they were supposed to be, served in your nan's best glass bowls, topped with a glacé cherry that nobody ate. Instant Whip was the dessert of mothers who'd given up, of families eating dinner at 6:30 sharp, whether you liked it or not, of Sunday afternoons that smelled of roast beef and disappointment. Make your own fizzy drinks at home. That was the promise.
Hold on a minute now, because we're just about... I just want to read this. Sounds like our version of... Matt says, I love the wee angel delight. Shane says this is why we're all safe. Our bodies fought this crap. Now, they're just about to talk about one of my favourite things here. This was one of my favourite things. And I actually think Shane mentioned this. What's wrong with SodaStream? I loved SodaStream. Hold on. Tim says Instant Whip, the cheap version of Angel Delight. There you are, Matt. There's a wee cheaper version there. So let's hear about our SodaStream. What did AJ say? Look at the phone on the wall. I can't see it. Maybe we passed it. I missed that. Right, hold on.
The SodaStream let you carbonate water and add flavoured syrup.
I
Fresh
like
pop
SodaStream.
whenever you wanted it.
I
The
like
1970s
SodaStream.
machines were terrifying, heavy, clunky. The glass bottles could shatter if you put too much gas in, which everyone did, because nobody read the instructions properly. The syrups tasted like medicine, cola that wasn't proper cola, lemonade that wasn't proper lemonade, something sort of fruit-flavoured that wasn't really fruit at all. Your homemade pop tasted like the cheap supermarket own-brand stuff.
Can I just say something here? Is this the original SodaStream? And did they take it away and then rebranded again and brought it out again? Because I can remember when I had SodaStream, it was absolutely lovely. The Iron Brew one in particular. Well, Shane likes the cola one. I like the Iron Brew one. So was this the original SodaStream? Did they take it away, do stuff to it, and bring it back? Because I had very fond memories of Iron Brew and SodaStream. Tim says I have a new SodaStream mix. You could fizz anything, including alcohol. Lovely. Fizzy vodka.
Because it basically was, but you could make it sparkly. That was the selling point. Didn't matter that it tasted awful, it fizzed, and in 1970s Britain, that was good enough. Wet and dry vacuum cleaning, the future of home cleaning. Or so Goblin promised when they launched the Aquarius.
He's a bit red-faced looking there, isn't he? He's a wee bit red-faced. Excuse me, YouTube video, but your own brand fizzy is lovely. Excuse me, YouTube video, but own brand fizzy is delicious. It is, Carrie! That's right. I like Co-op. I like the Co-op white lemonade. It's lovely. They brought out a new version. Shane says, there you go. Your man's face there's a bit red, isn't it? Maybe we're going to hear why.
It was massive, heavy enough to give you a hernia. By the time you dragged it up the stairs, you were too exhausted to actually clean anything. Your back ached, your arms ached, everything ached. And it didn't really work. The wet function left carpets soaking. The dry function was no better than a regular Hoover, but it cost twice as much and weighed 3 times more. Most people gave up, shoved it in the cupboard under the stairs, went back to their old Hoover. The Goblin Aquarius gathered dust, the one thing it was supposed to prevent. Sunday dinner, the weekly tradition, Dad's big moment, carving the roast. But regular knives were so old-fashioned, so slow. Britain needed something better, the electric carving knife. It vibrated at high speed.
Like they just say something, I have an electric carving knife up there, but mine doesn't vibrate. You all shut up. Mine doesn't vibrate. Mine sort of, it's like 2 blades and it goes like that, you know? So mine doesn't vibrate. So this must have been one that just sort of vibrated to cut down. That's desperate.
2 blades moving back and forth like little saws. It cut through meat easily.
Yes.
Very easily. Too easily. You couldn't control it. Thin slices? Forget it. The electric carving knife shredded, tore, ruined. Your beautiful joint of beef became a pile of scraps. The turkey fell apart. The pork looked like confetti. And the noise, the electric whine that drowned out conversation and sent dogs hiding under tables. Permanent press trousers were the dream. Sharp creases that lasted all day. The Pifco trouser press promised just that. Hang your trousers, close it up, leave overnight, wake to perfectly pressed trousers. Except they never quite worked. The heat.
Can I just say something? Some hotels that you go into still actually have these machines and they sit like ornaments. Maybe businessmen or something use them or whatever, you know what I mean? But I've seen them in hotel. The one that does it in the bedroom. Tell you that's desperate. And Andy says, my nanny has one, and I get new puppies. That's desperate. Let's carry on.
Heat was all over the place. One leg pressed, the other crumpled. Sometimes the crease was in the wrong place, running down the side instead of the front. You looked ridiculous. And they left marks. Shiny patches where the heat was too high. burn marks on delicate fabrics, your best trousers ruined by a machine that was meant to improve them, but every dad had one, mounted on the bedroom wall, used twice, left to gather dust while everyone went back to the ironing board. At least an iron worked. 1977, Sinclair released the Microvision, later the TV-80, a pocket television, small, portable, the future. The screen was 2 inches, you had to squint to see anything. The picture was grainy, black and white. Reception was dreadful unless you were stood next to the transmitter holding the aerial at exactly the right angle. Battery life was minutes. The screen faded in daylight. It overheated.
Can I just say something, folks? Can I just say something? That girl there, look at the style of that girl there. I know we're talking about the TV, but look at that girl there. Her hair is lovely and that beautiful band. Doesn't she look lovely there? I get nostalgic here. It's this chapter. I so many fans. Desperate. Isn't that girl look stunning there? She really, really does.
In your pocket, and it cost £99.95, more than £600 in today's money. For a TV you couldn't actually watch, Sinclair sold 15,000. Most ended up in drawers, unused, something to show people. Look at my pocket TV, people would say. Can you actually watch it? Someone would ask. Not really. The miracle fabric of the 1970s. Nylon sheets were the future. Non-iron, colourful, easy care. What could possibly go wrong? Everything. Nylon doesn't breathe. So you sweated all night, every night. Woke up drenched and uncomfortable. Felt like sleeping in a bin bag. And
Auntie Lillian used to have an egg on 80. She's got electric shocks in it all the time. So I even remember them egg on 80s. You used to get anything with an egg on, you used to get electric shock. When I had hair, that is, your hair used to be up there somewhere. It was like a Mary's hut. It was unbelievable.
the static. The static was unbelievable. Get into bed and sparks flew, literally. Blue flashes in the dark, crackling noises. Your hair stuck up, like sleeping in one of those static electricity machines from school. The sheets also slipped, constantly. No friction. They slid off the mattress by morning. You'd wake up on bare mattress with nylon sheets bunched at the foot of the bed. One set. That's all most people bought. One terrible set of nylon sheets, then straight back to cotton. You only make that mistake once. The 1970s loved concrete. Loved it. Architects decided the future of shopping was massive concrete shopping centres. Grey, angular buildings that looked like nuclear bunkers. Towns across Britain ripped out Victorian streets. Beautiful old buildings demolished, replaced with concrete blocks. The Tricorn in Portsmouth, Birmingham Bull Ring, the Merrion Centre in Leeds, Gateshead Car Park, ugly beyond belief. They were meant to be modern, futuristic. They were cold, depressing, and within 5 years stained by rain and pigeon droppings.
So that reminds me of the Umbu Centre in Gran Canaria, but I'm saying that.
The concrete aged badly, cracked, leaked. Places people avoided after dark. People hated them, avoided them. Many were demolished within 30 years, replaced by, well, anything else really. Anything was better than more concrete. Britain's concrete shopping centre experiment failed and scarred our town centres for decades. The perfect body without the work. That was the promise. Slenderton.
We're just coming up to the end of this now, but watch this. I can remember these. I can't remember these. So we're just coming up to the end. I think it's going to be the last couple. I can remember these so well. If anybody ever tried them, let me know. Any is old enough to try.
The electronic muscle stimulator that filled British magazine adverts in the 1970s. You strapped pads to your stomach, switched it on. Electric pulses made your muscles contract. Sit on the sofa, watch telly, get a six-pack. Magic. Except it wasn't magic. It was uncomfortable electric shocks, stinging, annoying. And it didn't give anyone a six-pack. Ever. The belt ended up in the back of the wardrobe. Another gadget buried and forgotten. Another shortcut that went nowhere. 2 heavy plastic balls. A piece of string. That's it. That was clackers. The toy of 1971 that got banned by 1973. You swung them up and down. They smashed together, made a loud clacking noise. The faster you went, the louder they got. Every playground sounded like a war zone. Hundreds of children clacking away. Then the plastics.
Any users have a pair of clackers? Do they still not sell them nowadays, though? I don't know, Killian. Any you ever have a set of clackers? Saying now.
Started shattering. Under pressure, the balls would explode into sharp fragments, flying at speed, straight into children's faces, eyes, hands. The injuries started adding up. Parents complained, schools banned them. Eventually the government stepped in. Clackers were declared too dangerous. Production stopped. The clacker craze ended almost as fast as it started. If you remember any of these disasters, drop a comment below. Tell us your story. Share this with someone to see if they remember any of these. And please subscribe to the channel to keep these memories alive.
Okay, folks, so there you go. I once again, I will put a full list of the YouTube channels where they came from, and you could maybe try just to catch up on the comments here. Kai says Nagon is horrible. Shane says love the Elbow Center. It's a coconut, Shane. Shane says that they still sell these and they don't give you a 6-pack. I'm still raging. What was that? Andy, there's a whole thing going on YouTube here. AJ Walker Music says I use conkers. Temper Life says I'm sure you did, AJ. And Killian says I remember marbles on string, but not them. Well, I don't remember marbles on string. Well, there you go, folks. So there you go. There was a little trip down memory lane. For the ones who stayed, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Do you know something? It was good crack. It's nice to see some things that we remember. And Tim, if you missed the start there, if you get a chance, go back and have a look at the first video that we shown. The first video we shown before you come in was what you could buy for a $5 in 1975, and you'll laugh. And then there was the fashion piece afterwards. Okay, folks, well, look, thanks very much for joining me today. Do you know something? It's really, really interesting. There's Matt there. Matt wouldn't remember that. Matt's too young. He's a wee child there. But he said he loved it because you're seeing things, the difference in prices, the way things used to be, and whatever, you know. Okay, folks, very quickly, just before I go, hopefully next Tuesday night, a question to, hold on, here's a question. Shane says, a question to everyone, please, why did we learn recorder in school? I don't know. Shane, the torture Maz and Daz. Tim says, question for sure. Did I see that your After Dark is back this week? Yes, Tim, you did indeed. It's on this, me and Carrie's After Dark this Friday night at 9 p.m. It's a wee bit later, and you know why. And we're talking about the life of our Anne Boleyn, the rise, the fall, and the death of Anne Boleyn. Did anybody get a job from playing a recorder? And just before I go tonight, folks, this was supposed to happen before. Next Tuesday night is Auntie Lillian's and Lucky Boy's Tuesday night trivia tickle quiz, and that's going to be Tuesday night at 7:30 with our auntie. I'm getting blue out. Our Auntie Lillian and our Lucky Boy over in Gibraltar. So that's going to be next Tuesday night. So we have a lot coming up. Okay, folks. Well, look, thanks very much for joining me tonight. Kai says, thank you for tonight. See you all on Friday. And Shane says, did anyone get a job from it? No. Tim for Life says, I will finally get to see our Carrie's face. You will indeed are, Tim. Killian says, good night all, and I really enjoyed tonight. And Andy says it was to learn the Titanic for Lillian on the recorder. She doesn't like the Titanic. Right, folks, well, look, thanks very much for joining me in the Chatter House tonight. I will see you all. Lillian and Lucky, can't wait. Yeah, that's next Tuesday night. their trivia quiz live from Lisburn, Northern Ireland, and also live from Gibraltar. There's a first for the Chatterhouse. Okay, folks, well, thanks very much for joining me tonight and for being patient with me in our new studio because it's only my second time using it. I will see you all very soon. Take care. Good